everyone, I am Fiston, and as incredible as it sounds, this is EB Online. This is an EB Online battle featuring the Seleucid king in this epic frame in front of his sunrise on the desert, fighting against the Ptolemaioi counterpart. This is an EB Online battle fought between me as the Seleukid and GameGeek2 as the Ptolemaioi. This battle has been fought yesterday, very recently, by me and GameGeek2 trying out the new EDU, the brand new EDU that freshly came out, in the sense that GameGeek released it a few days ago, I think, and has been fought after a years-long hiatus by both of us. So it doesn't feature the slickest of plays or the slickest of micro, but it's still a fun battle. And the other reason to showcase this battle is that it integrates a very brand new addition to the EB Online scene, which is the Rome Total War Extended project. Maybe I can fast forward deployment. Which is a project also known as the acronym REX, aimed at increasing the modding capabilities of the base Rome Total War game. The classic Rome Total War, not the extended edition or the remastered, what's the name? Yeah, remastered, I think. But the original one, which possibly includes increasing hard-coded limits and such. And most importantly, improving performances. And as you can see, there is the battle is already very clearly super smooth. I'm playing triple speed and everything is really smooth and there is no drop in frame rates. So that's already a pretty good reason to integrate REX into your EB games. I will mention the innovations brought forward by REX as we move on during the battle. Sometimes I will complain about something, but yeah, you will see. Anyway, so this is a very standard successor versus successor battle. Here there's one horse archer unit that I deployed in this very awkward manner just to avoid the enfilade fire. Enfilade in French. I am not sure how to pronounce the English counterpart, but whatever. These horse archers will play basically no role in this battle. It's just they will do very little damage and then die horribly. I have two Mardian archers. Okay, let me zoom in into a more human fashion. Two Mardian archers, 4 phalanxes, one of which is the Klerouchoi Phalangitai and 3 of which are Pantodapoi Phalangitai. Then for the flank guards, I have 2 Thorakitai Euplitai, 2 Thorakitai, 1 on each flank, and 1 Judaioi Taxeis on each flank. Down here, there's of course my general, Somatophylakes Strategou. I really like this unit, and it also features the Seleucid king up here, together with the royal guard of Peltastai Macedonikoi. Absolutely front-loaded unit, which has a very extreme killing power, both in hand-to-hand and with javelins. As a backup, I also have Wazali, and there they are, Anatolikoi Filetai with a nasty double-bladed axe. And you can see it by the little standard up here, a chevron, and also the Wazali are chevroned. Back here I have, I do have Cataphractoi, the Hellcats, Azabarani Madain, Median cavalry with secondary axes, as well as Hetairoi companions, and a Svendonetai unit, which never hurts. And over here, oh yes, of course, skirmisher cavalry. Always nice, always handy. As for my opponent's army, Toxotai Syriakoi, 2 of them. We're just exchanging arrows for now. I'm actually switching targets at the moment, I think, because I want to shoot at the juicy targets back down here, which we're gonna go to in a moment. He has 4 high quality phalanxes, Pesetairoi, at the front. I think maybe we can fast forward a bit. So higher quality than my phalanx line. And then 3 Galatikoi Klerukoi, Galatian longswordsmen, I mean Celtic longswordsmen basically. Here it seems that I deemed shooting at the Galatians from this flank in a kind of enfilade fashion would be a worthy use of my time. It actually wasn't. I did just a couple casualties. So then I switched to what's in the back. Not really the Somatophylacus Strategou, which he also took, but these 2 units of Anatolikoi Philetai. He also decided to bring the Axemen. This is a unit I really like. This is something I want to showcase in this battle, because they are not hindered by javelins, so you don't feel like a waste if you don't use them to shoot javelins, like the Katpatukat Santush, for example. And they could just go in hand to hand and do a number there. They're quite cheap. There's a lot of them. Then he has 1 Aikmetai Nubaioi. These are basic Levi spearmen, but they're pretty good, and there's a lot of them. And 2 Galatikoi Lavotuxri, together with 2 Svendonetai Rodioi. Here at the very back. He doesn't like to show them at the front of the army, obviously, because they would have been shot by my archers, and he wants to shoot my cataphracts with them. So this is when I start moving forward, I think, to shoot the Philetai. Yeah, you see the arrows coming in. Maybe a volley will come soonish. I just enjoy this show quite a lot. Ah, yes, there it is. I like the Philetai being shot because this is a very worthwhile use of my ammos. You see that the numbers are quite nicely dwindling down. Anyway, he also has 2 units of Hetairoi Haspitophoroi, which are giving a hard life to my horse archers. The nice thing is that he's wasting a lot of his javelins onto these guys, which already finished their arrows, I think, and did a pitiful amount of damage, so they are kind of almost useless. They are just here to take casualties, basically. I don't want these nasty javelins to hit the backs of my men. Yeah. Anyway, these cavalrymen are pretty good. And these guys, you see how their numbers have gone down, like massively. This is the downside of very light units. And now he notices, you see? Now he deploys them in an elongated fashion and more towards my arrows to minimize the enfilade. You see a nice addition from the REX is, you see in the info box that pops up when I hover over a unit, you see that in the 3rd line it says kills, so it tells you how many kills the unit racked up over the battle, or across the battle, I guess. That's a very nice touch, cool role playing, I guess, but also useful to understand how useful your unit has been in real time, not really until the end the end screen, the end of the battle screen. This is an addition that I don't like that much. That was added in the REX, which is a standard run stance for units. So when you give a move command, the units run by default. This is something I find very unnecessary. You could see my whole army running forward. I don't think this is necessary. If you want to run, you just press R, you right click and you press R, or you double right click. That's just normal. That's not a big deal. I don't know why it would be a big deal to add a default running stance for all units, but that's me, I guess. I don't know. I find that randoms probably find it more useful to always run, but I don't want to always run. I'm not a random. Neither is Game Geek, and he doesn't like this change either. But whatever. I'm just yapping for no reason. Let's go back to the battle. So here we are getting closer and closer. Oh, this is, by the way, another nice REX addition, the unrestricted camera. You can see this epic shot from above, and you can see the armies deploying, one in front of the other. And you can see how we are occupying the space around our main lines. I think the epicness of this battle is also added by the fact that, or is enhanced by the fact that we are playing on huge scale, which is something that is not very common in EB Online, whose community usually prefers large size for balance reasons. Anyway, now it's the moment when we start having fun, start having some phalanx fun. And you see that my inferior phalanxes have been deployed in a deeper fashion. I'm trying to maximize the pushing power of my phalanxes by adding more ranks, whereas he's trying to cover more ground, so he's deploying in a more in a more line-like formation, whereas I'm more in a column-like formation. And I'm guarding the flanks with my Thorakitai. He's not guarding his flanks, but he is very quick in making up for that, just charging directly with his Clerukoi. I get one javelin volley out, doesn't do that much, 4 kills, and then he's on my units. And that's not really great, because these guys on the charge, they do a lot of damage. You see they already racked up 9 kills, 10 kills already. That's a big deal. So I knew that in a straight up confrontation I would lose here, so I just pushed my archers at the front, and I get my Yudayoi Taxeis on the flanks here to shoot some javelins. That's kind of very useful, because you see I did some casualties. Then this is a neat little trick. You just backspace them into stopping, and then you shoot javelins again. There we go. And I get another decent amount of kills. 18 kills total, with minimal overshoot into my Thorakitai. I'm getting as many volleys as I can just to help my men. Yeah, decent amount of kills. And then I can't do anything. I can't do much anymore, and I also get a nasty javelin volley by the Clerukoi, and a nasty charge also. So they're tag teaming my Yudayoi Taxeis here, and they will lose eventually. On this flank nothing is happening. Well, actually something is happening right now, which is him shooting at my Thorakitai and then charging. Meanwhile, I think he's nudging his Fendonetai to move forward and start pelting my cavalry. You see them down here. They are in close formation, and I will put them in loose formation quite soon, I think. Here you see the fleeing horse archers. They didn't do much, as I mentioned. 11 kills, right? No, 15 kills. Wow, that's crazy numbers. And right now there's an assault of these Peltastai onto the Ptolemaioi taxes, which I pull out, and I kind of block him with my Shivatiri Marda, my Mardians, which were useless, they had no ammos. And you see that these guys expose their flanks and backs to my Ptolemaioi. I believe I get some javelins in, but I didn't do as much as I could have. You see, yes, now I'm reloading. Sorry for the motion sickness. I'm shooting javelins onto them. That's a lot of damage, but then I just charge in, and I think that's a big mistake. I should have shot all my javelins there, and that would have decimated these Peltastai. Yeah, so shame. I guess kind of lack of micro on my part. Should have paid more attention. Here I tried to bait him into marching his phalanxes forward so that I could attack his flank, either with my Philetai or with my Peltastai Macedonicoi, but he isn't moving. That's smart. So I bring my Philetai in close formation and I just charge here onto these Galatians. Probably the Thorakitai would come out on top in the long run, but still I didn't want to take any chances here, and I just go straight for the charge. And the sheer pushing power of these two units will eventually break the Klerukoi. I also wanted to have these Philetai safe from missiles. Speaking of missiles, I think, yes, indeed, he has already done a number on my Cataphractoi. You see, I already took 12 casualties. That's a lot. And you see now the Mardian archers have ran away, and therefore my Ptolemaioi taxes are isolated against a swarm, literal swarm of Peltastai and his own Philetai. And now the skies have cleared. There's no more sandstorm. The white sun can shine again onto so much death. This is not really a charge through. I think this is valid, and this does quite a good number on my taxes. But I think I am shooting, yes, with my Sphendonetai I am shooting these Galatians. So right now that's the normal successor action. You just engage the phalanxes, and then most of the things happen on the flanks and with cavalry. That's very historically accurate, I would say. What is interesting here is the funny angles that happen in the phalanx engagement. This is not something, I think, due to the REX, but this is something intrinsic in the Rome Total War engine. This has happened so many times in the standard EB online that I couldn't even count the times. This engagement is particularly weird. These Pezzetairoi are facing this way. I mean, that kind of makes sense because they are facing these guys, which they were engaged in the first place, whereas these guys kind of were engaged later. I don't know really how, but whatever. This phalanx fight has completely broken down, as you can see, and paradoxically here my Pantodapoi are advantaged against the Pezzetairoi because of the axes. You see, there's armor-piercing axes here. And at the same time, these guys have aggroed onto this phalanx, which is particularly weird because then I can bring my phalanx in from the flank. It's kind of interesting. But then he notices and reforms just in time. In the meantime, here, the cavalry engagement on the other flank has happened. And I kind of mess up the orders here. This kind of is a charge through, but because my units took a longer time to respond, to move out of the way. So my median cavalry just kind of charged through the skirmisher cavalry, but then he kind of charges through again with his own cavalry. So then I think this is balanced. And in this engagement, I think the second charge messed up my lines quite badly. And you can see there's quite a few units cracking. So these two units will crack, and these Jewish spearmen also cracked. So I have to throw in the Wazali to stabilize the situation. These Wazali actually have, I didn't showcase that, but they actually did something similar as the Judaioi Taxis previously. They kind of shot the side of these Kleruchoi. No, not these ones. Probably the side of these Kleruchoi. Yes, these are decimated. So they kind of lost some men due to the Wazali javelins. And now I'm bringing in the Hetairoi for a nice charge here on the Nubaioi, but I realized that these guys are running, so the charge would not be super effective. So I run down here to try to charge the Kleruchoi, but then I realized that these guys are falling upon me, so then I have to run away. What's happening on the other side? The Cataphractoi are here waiting. They took some more casualties, but not too many. Whereas the Hetairoi are just running. I'm paying a lot of attention to these cavalry movements because they will be very important here. And you also can see that this flank has completely collapsed because of the Lavotuxri, basically. He had these two Lavotuxri here wreaking havoc in my forces. So here I charge both of my units. So the Hetairoi together with my general, and the Hetairoi Cataphractoi on this side against the Lavotuxri. I think I did some damage here, and I'm racking up kills. And remember, these guys, these are very tough guys. These are very hard to kill. It takes a lot to kill these guys. Peltastai and Svendonetai Rodioi aren't gonna crack them quickly. And Lavotuxri will just take a lot of time. My Peltastai are just pelting javelins there, and then I think I just engage these Kleruchoi. Meanwhile, here, I'm in a melee with my Svendonetai, my general, and the Hetairoi, which are here somewhere. Yeah, there we go. And they're killing a lot of these cavalrymen. I think these guys are gonna run. But there's only one unit here. Yeah, these guys are running. There's only one unit here because the other one is on this flank, repeatedly charging these Wazali, which are admirably standing their ground. I think that's due to the additional chevron. They just withstood so many charges. You see this combined charge between the Somatophyleces Strategou and the Aspidophoroi, and these guys go down to wavering. Meanwhile, they are also engaged with the Galatians. That's really saying something about their prowess here. Yeah, and meanwhile you see the Cataphractoi, they are just standing here, they just don't care. You see there's 40 of them, they think the defeat is almost a certainty, but they're just not dying. They're tying up 3 enemy units, one of which is a very heavy cavalry unit, which is down here, yeah, and it's crippled basically. At the same time I realize here this exchange is not very fruitful on this flank, so I just pull out my Hetairoi and just leave these guys with the Svendonetai. And at this point there is a very juicy target, which are these Galatians, which, whoa, this guy flew up in the air, and by seeing the end of their comrade, they just decide to flee. And I narrowly avoid this cavalry charge. I take some casualties, probably with the Wazali, but he's scared off and has to run. My Hetairoi are just moving here for no reason, but then because I think I decided to charge the Nubaioi, but then I tell myself, are the Nubaioi really important in the economy of this battle? Obviously, no, they aren't. What is important? This is important. The fact that routing those Galatians caused a chain route, and these Toxotai Syriakoi cracked, and these Anatolikoi Philetai cracked. So it's here that I need to push. And now he's in trouble here. Why? Because I have my Wazali. These guys are pushing, and you're gonna see that they are gonna create some kind of shield in front of his cavalry, and he cannot engage them. These are already winded, and my men are just not gonna run by a charge by so few men. So basically he's won my right flank and I've won my left flank. But what is nice about this corridor is that about this shield is that now I have this big corridor, and you will see me exploiting it by going directly onto these units. You see my Hellenikoi Cataphractoi who are routing now, but the difference you see between winning the two flanks is that he took so long in winning his flank because of the Cataphractoi that it didn't matter anymore. And my cavalry at this point, at the moment when he could disengage his men from here and come to the help of his main line, it was already too late, and my cavalry was already wreaking havoc down here. See? Basically all his main line now has routed due to the localized pressure that I was able to apply, and that's just because I gained so much time here in this big fight with the cataphracts. And also a honorable mention needs to be, let's see this last charge by the Hetairoi. These are basically his last units, and one routes and I think the other one routes very soon. I was saying, yes, there we go. I was saying that an honorable mention is to be given to the Peltastai Macedonicoi. You see 160 kills, absolutely insane unit. I think the straw that killed, that broke the camel's back is here when he loses the Lavotuxri, and now he just resigns. Is that correct? Yeah, he resigns here.
By the slimmest of margins, but any victory is still a victory.
This is another addition by REX, which I will not be accustomed for a long time, I would say. The funny voice lines at the end of the battle is not something that you hear in EB because they are usually disabled. But alas, that's not very important. Anyway, it was a very close victory, very nicely fought by Game Geek. He had a very scary army composition, and his cavalry units were masterfully used, I think, especially the Aspidophoroi. And this is the last addition that I would like to showcase for REX, which is the combined battle statistics. So I can see the statistics of my units, but I can also see the statistics of my opponent's units, which I think is a very neat addition and very much needed also. It's very interesting to look at these numbers. So what would you expect? The cataphracts did not do a lot, but they just didn't die, and that was their job. That was so important. Whereas the Hetairoi did a lot of work, and as well as whereas those guys, the Peltastai Macedonicoi, you see 3-1 kill death ratio. That's pretty good for EB Online standards. Reasonable numbers for all my units. Count that many of these numbers are inflated because of routing units. And I mean, routing units whose men get killed by your own units. So these numbers are not really how the battle went, are not really representative, let's say, of how the battle went. And on the other hand, his units, well, you can see again, masterful use of the heteroaspidophore. They more than paid back their cost. And also, I think the archers and the slingers did very nicely. As for the rest, yeah, so and so, but I would say we can single out just one unit. Yes, the Ptolemaioi, the Nubian spearmen. They did admirably for such a cheap unit. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the battle. Very well fought to Gengi 2. It was fun playing again EB Online. It was interesting to play on the REX or taking part in this innovative project. It was very cool to see a very smooth game with very little loading time, very smooth execution, neat additions. I mean, this is very nice. And also the little things here and there, and possibly the future possibilities, like hard-coded unlocks. That would be pretty cool to see. Anyway, that's it for me. Until the next time.